Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's topic is cost control in construction. So it is an important topic. So whenever we talk about cost control, so basically we get project costing, that is project budget, project schedule, and how to keep track on the cost and effective time management. So these are all basically part of cost control in construction. So before we go into the detail, once again I thank all my subscribers, viewers for your continued support. Please watch till the end. You will also get the descriptive notes of these cost control measures. And if you are not subscribed, please subscribe and press the bell icon. If you like, please share and comment as well. So we'll go into cost control in construction. So for any small project, also it is very important that cost control has to be there from very beginning of the project. Before we start the project, there should be a proper planning and specification has to be freezed. So before we start, we need to have the plans and specifications defined so that there is no any changes in future date during construction stages. So again, when comes to construction, it is not the ability of the builder or the contractor, it is the requirement of the client is more important. So example, the builder has the ability to build a house of 50 lakhs, but the client has the requirement to build for 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs. So it is the requirement of the client is important, and the plans and specifications has to be freezed based upon the requirements of the client. And always it is important to engage a structural engineer for the design aspect of the project, so it always reduces the cost. But practically there is a tendency of the contractor or the masonry to avoid structural engineers, but it is always get a proper design and plans from the structural engineer. So before we start, the project cost has to be defined and the time for completions has to be fixed so that there is no cost overrun. So we should always avoid changes during construction stage. That is why the scope of work has to be defined. Whenever the changes is there, it adds to the cost. So for future expansion, so the customer may have a requirement of future date construction, so there should be proper accommodation for future expansion in the planning stage. So customer wants to have a 3-bedroom house at a later stage. He wanted to construct a 2-bedroom currently. So there should be a proper plans and designs for 3-bedroom for the expansion in future date. So it helps to have a hassle-free construction during the future date. So always engage a trusted subcontractor so that it helps to complete the project within the budget and timeline. So whenever we use a framed structure, you can always go in for fly ash bricks or AAC blocks, which will be comparatively cheaper when you use a conventional red bricks. So you can also reduce the cost of the compound wall by going in for a chain link fencing or a barbed wire fencing, or you can go in for a precast RCC panels than the conventional brickwork. So it also reduces your cost of the compound wall works. So always have soak pits for the kitchen waste, bathroom waste and washing, so that the load on septic tank can be reduced, which will also effectively reduce the cost of your construction. You can avoid expensive grills. Currently the prices of steels are high, so you can use normal 10 mm dia 3-inch spacing steel rods instead of fancy grills. So you can use flush doors or skin doors for internal applications. Also you can use less expensive hardwares like powder coated aluminum hardware or SS hardwares. You can go in for Syntex overhead tank than the conventional brick or RCC tank. It also considerably reduces the cost of construction. Also you can go for in the terrace parapet walls, you can either use 4.5-inch brick wall instead of 9-inch wall. So if there is no future expansion immediately, so 4.5-inch wall can be constructed, so it reduces considerable cost. So you can go in for open staircase so that you can avoid headrooms, so this reduces the cost of the constructions. So avoid wastages during constructions, so that helps to reduce the cost. So the wastages on construction materials and labor has to be minimum so that it reduces the cost. So we will go into the details in a descriptive form as well, the cost control in construction and the objectives and the methods of construction cost controlling methods. We will go into the details in the slides. So, as I said, the topic is about cost control in construction. This is all about project cost management. So, the content here is like what is project cost management, objective of cost management. So, what is the objective of the cost management and what is cost plan? What is cost control in construction and methods for construction cost control? So, we will see one by one in detail. So project cost management. So this is basically planning the resources. You have resources like labor, materials, and plant and machinery. So these resources has to be planned. So estimating of these resources is important, and creating the budget. So this is for the entire project of life cycle of the project. The budget has to be prepared, and proper monitoring and controlling is part of project cost management. So this has to be monitored and controlled, and evaluation has to be done from time to time. So this is what all about project cost management. Here we will see objective of cost control in construction. So we very often we know that construction cost often exceeds budget. So the very objective of the cost control in construction is to keep the cost under control, and cost control is very important part of construction management. So the purpose of cost control plan is to help ensure the project is delivered on time and within the scope of work and on budget. So this is the very purpose of the cost control plan. So the reporting, basically the cost control reporting is based on future cash flows. That is how you complete the project, how the cash flows will be there, and how you manage to complete the project, and anticipated final cost. So what is the balance cost for the construction, or anticipated final balance cost, and current project cost? So this is the basic type of cost reporting. So future cash flows, anticipated final cost, current project cost. So construction cost control helps project managers avoid cost overruns by providing guidelines for estimates and forecast materials, labor, equipments, and overheads. So this is the basic reporting of cost project cost reporting. Now, what is the cost plan? So, cost plans are typically prepared to provide an estimate of what actual costs are likely to be. So, whenever a project is planned, so that should be adequate time has to be given for the preparation of cost plans and the budget for the completion of the project. So, it is for the entire life of the project. The costing has to be detailed with the reasonable accuracy. So that is what a cost plan is all about. So pre-construction document and cost analysis. Now, before start of the project, there should be a pre-construction document. And what is those detailed construction documents and analysis is? So it is a project budget. So the project budget has to be in place before start of the project. Schedule of values. So before the project starts, we should have the schedule of completion, construction team. So we need to have the manpower required for the construction, and scope of work. Scope of work has to be well defined before the start of the project. Owner contractor agreement has to be detailed. Plans and specification is very important. So that has to be freezed and finalized before the start of the project. Timeline for the completion of the process or project. Resources to determine the constructability. So we need to identify the manpower, labor, materials, and vendors, suppliers, subcontractors. All those resources has to be finalized before the start of the project, so that the proper project cost management will be in place. So again, what is cost control in construction? So it is basically to keep the project under control by managing labor, material, overheads, cost, and it finishes within the budget and timelines. So basically, the cost control is relies on sound estimates. So that is how the before start we need to have the budget and estimate, so it can be constantly monitored. Without cost control, a project quickly burns through its budget and leaves very little profit or loss. So that is why you need to have a cost control in place. Otherwise, it becomes uncontrollable cost, and it induces loss or reduces the profit. Methods for cost control in construction. So there are different methods for cost control in construction. One is through thorough estimates. So before start of the project, there should be a proper estimate and budget has to be in place, which has to be more realistic, and through which you can control the construction activities. So the estimates and budget should include all resources like labor, materials, equipment, plant and machineries, overheads, permits, any other cost almost certain to encounter during the construction stages. So all those costs has to be incorporated in the budget for arriving at the total cost of the project. Second, strong communication. So there should be a strong communication between the team. So that helps in to control the cost, and also in case of any crisis, which is can also be dealt properly if you have a good communication. So daily reports and continuous updates. So this is also very important. So daily reports and updates helps to monitor and control the project. And if there is any issues, it can be sorted out. And this can be done on through the daily reporting and constant monitoring. So this will reduce any unexpected surprises when it comes to review your budget at the end of the project. So constant monitoring is required. So that is achieved through the daily reports and continuous updates. So backup plans has to be always in place. If anything happen or returns your project budget, like machinery breakdowns or subcontract pulling out or supplier delays, etc. of the project, you should have a backup plan. So whenever there is anything of this nature happen, there should be a plan B in place so that the project is within the control. So trusted subcontractors. So it is always important that you have to keep trusted subcontractors for the activities. Basically, these subcontractors are not the employees, so there are always a problem that they create delays and cost overruns. So we need to engage a trusted contractor. So supplementary work orders are limited change orders. So this is also important. We need to limit the changes during the construction process. So whenever there is a change in the orders, or so that automatically it increases the cost and as well as the time. So contractors often make costly changes to the project at the request of client. So this should be avoided. So these details has to be scope of work has to be defined in the beginning of the construction activities. A lot of change orders can be eliminated or minimized by preparing a thorough and clear statement of work at the start of the activities. So, project evaluation. So whether you stayed on the budget or not, you should conduct a post-project review of how well you control costs once you wrap up a project. So before, once a project is on completion stage, the project has to be evaluated whether it is completed within the budget. So these data will help to monitor and control future projects as well. So the stats on what are the change orders, equipment usage, labor usage, material consumption, so time and cost to overrun. So all these statistics has to be collected, data has to be there at the time of completion of project. So the post-project evaluation can be done properly. Cost control in construction. So we take small project. So if it is even an independent house also, so it is importance should be given for planning and specification. So it is not the builder or the contractor's ability to construct. It is the requirement of the client is very important. So the as per the client requirements, the proper planning and specification has to be finalized. So it is not that a builder or a contractor can construct 50 lakhs worth building with a plan and specification, but the client may require only a plan of 25 lakhs. So the proper planning and specifications has to be finalized as per the requirement of the client. For even a small project, it is always important to engage a structural engineer for design or CC works. That will be more efficient and effective. So this is also an important aspect to be considered for cost control in construction. So proper budgeting has to be done before the start of the project so that there is no complication or cost overruns take place. So proper scope of work is defined and budget is defined and the project is controlled within the cost and budget. Effective time management is important. So whenever the project exceeds time, so there is a extra cost attached with the time management. So avoiding changes has to be done during construction stage. So again, the scope of work has to be well defined before the start so that changes can be avoided. Thereby, you can reduce the cost overrun. So it is also important to make proper provision for future expansion. So that is basically the client may require a future expansion at later date. So that need to be planned at the initial stage so that it will be easier in the future expansion stages. So for example, if the customer wants a three-bedroom house at a later stage, but he wants to construct a two-bedroom house so that the plans can be made for three-bedroom house and necessary provision for the future date expansion. This helps in the later date construction as well. We need to engage a trusted subcontractors so that the cost is kept under control and the completed within time frame. So whenever we use a framed structure for construction, always we can use fly ash bricks or AAC blocks so that instead of conventional red bricks. So this also considerably reduce the construction cost. You can also reduce the cost of the compound wall so that whether you can go for precast RCC work like post and panels or chain link fencing depending upon your cost constraints. So you can use soak pits for the bathroom and washing and kitchen waste so that this need not to be loaded into your septic tank. So thereby the construction cost of septic tank can be reduced. So use of soak pit is important. So fancy window grills can be avoided to reduce cost. You can go in for 10 mm dia steel rods at 3-inch spacing, so that this can reduce the weight of the grills and thereby the cost. For doors, you can always use flush doors or skin doors for the internal purposes, and you can also use the hardwares, which is coated aluminum hardwares or stainless steel SS hardwares, depending upon your cost constraints. So you can always use Syntex over water tank instead of brick or CC tank, which will reduce the cost. So again, parapet walls, terrace parapet walls can be constructed with 4.5-inch brick wall or 9-inch wall. So as per your requirements, if the future expansion immediately is not there, you can go in for 4.5-inch wall as well. So you can use open staircase so that it reduces the headroom cost. So to reduce the cost, if you use the open staircase, so the headroom cost can be avoided. So avoiding wastages, so that is also very important. So the wastage of materials or labor has to be properly planned, and it should be avoided. So there should be minimum wastage within the permissible limit so that you can control the cost. So big thanks for watching. So if you like, please comment and share. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and press the bell icon.